We could have predicted that this man, William Ruto, would later turn around and tell us that things are really bad.
We collect 52% of all collectible VAT. Just by automation and computerization, we can actually raise 95% of all collectible VAT. That would give us an extra 450 billion Kenya shillings. And added on to that, if you raise that kind of VAT, you can equally raise from corporate tax an additional 200, maybe 150 billion shillings. So there is room to raise additional funding, additional revenue for us to manage our debt without necessarily going to say we're going to negotiate our debt.
Say that right there. If one's had huge revenue figures at his fingertips and solutions to every problem that we faced as a country in 6 months. Well, today, this is yours truly, Mr. President.
It is the first time that we are having delayed salaries. Yes, it is the first time we are having delayed salaries. But it's also the first time we are having such monumental debts. I want to assure the country that that is managed. We have turned the corner.
Pressure is mounting on the national government to meet its obligatory role of salary payments and the release of cash meant for the devolved units. The head of state has revealed he is working around this, but has remained firm his government will not be forced into another loan to fund recurrent expenditure.
All I assure the country is this, the commitment I made that we are not going to borrow money to spend on recurrent expenditure, including salaries. That is the position of the government of Kenya. We will not do that.
Turn the corner? Really? Turn the corner? How? Let's look at the corner that has not clearly turned.
The county governments, the 47 of them, are facing serious financial crunch. Out of the 370 billion shillings, which is the equitable share, 2 months before the end of the financial year, only 141 billion shillings has been disbursed, Madam Speaker. And county governments are unable to pay their employees, leave alone providing essential services to the people of this country. As a matter of fact, there has been no remittance to the counties for the entire period of January to April this year, which is unprecedented.
This is the very first time in the history of devolution the deficit from the national government to the counties has crossed the 122.1 shillings mark, which has pushed counties to total paralysis due to non-disbursement of the funds by the National Treasury. You would think then that the chair of the governors will come out protesting vehemently and push the national government to disperse the funds. Instead, this is what has been occupying her. Just saying, can't see your governor shaking up behind. It's not a good picture. Anyway, the unwillingness of her speaking against the same party that saw her clinch the gubernatorial seat in a county is a representation of what we've seen from all the leaders aligned to the Kenya Kwanza party. Simply, they have been doing, as far as we are concerned, is licking the behinds of the president. But maybe, just maybe, we need to tell the Kenya Kwanza government leaders this joke because of how good they are at licking behinds. What did the left butt cheek say to the right butt cheek, Kenya Kwanza government? If we stick together, we can stop all this shit. Get it? But it looks like someone isn't helping you stick together as much as you need because you haven't stopped all the shit. And if you think it, I'm not politically correct about the joke on behinds and Kenya Kwanza government, let's look at how the dance ended. Yes, there's a line of behinds from your governor, CS and CSS. If we are going to try and diagnose the problems for the Kenya Kwanza government, we can at least ask the president to appoint people who at least understand their exact designation. This right here is Dennis Itumbi, who thinks he is a deputy cabinet secretary, and it doesn't end there. Melissa Nomanga also thinks she is a deputy cabinet secretary as well. Debt and debt repayment for Kenya Kwanza is the top reason why we find ourselves in this situation. Even as the president says he won't borrow, we know very well that we have to borrow. Kenya's Treasury plans to plug the budget deficit in the next financial year through the external loans of 198.6 billion shillings and 496.6 billion shillings in domestic loans. Debt service expense as a proportion of ordinary revenue has increased from 49% in 2019-2020 to 65% in 2022-2023. This indicates that general revenues are increasingly becoming or getting used to repay public debt, which is a non-productive expenditure rather than to meet productive expenditure needs. Further, the share of ordinary revenue used to service interest payments on the public debt increased from about 15% in 2013-2014 to around 30% in 2021-2022. Now, one of the ways that the government plans to pay or to get the country out of this situation is look at all the non-performing state departments and sell them, or in professional terms, privatize them. As we speak, Parliament already has passed a law that will not require parliamentary approval to sell state agencies. Another plan is this by yours truly, Musalia Mudavadi.
Mudavadi outlined the government plans of either restructuring or merging the non-performing corporations with those performing well, with an aim of ensuring that they are self-dependent, other than depending on the government for funding.
That target. Only 5% of the 79 have been remitting dividends to the exchequer. Others have now become dependent on the exchequer. We must reverse that trend. We have seen public servants losing their savings through some of these entities.
So that essentially means more job losses coming our way. But maybe it is just me. There's something I don't find okay with a man who is illegally in office, created another illegal office for the wife, telling me that I'm going to lose my job. Now, one thing you'll admire about this government, though, is their optimism that they are on the verge of getting a solution, even as they admit that they are in a crisis. Last week, a man was given the job of turning around the coffee sector, flew to Mombasa to receive an oil tanker. Fine, let's forget that he has never given any press regarding the progress of the coffee sector. Let's focus on the chopper that he is using to fly around. It is not his. Without even focusing on the wastage right there, it is what he said after receiving the tanker that is of importance. Watch one guy, David Inde's reaction in particular when Ricky G opens his mouth.
Business people, investors who have been holding US dollars for speculation purposes, please offload your dollars to the market today and tomorrow. It's very honest advice from a truthful man. But with what has happened,
You think David Inde is laughing because he knows what Ricky G is saying is going to happen? No, it's because he knows that maybe at best we shall save a little from the Saudi deal that will enable us pay our debt. The deal is $200 million. Compare that with our debt profile, but most importantly, maturing debt, how the government securities have been underperforming. I think those who are keeping their dollars put know it. It will still go up.
it will go down, starting today, tomorrow, the day after. So you have a few dollars that you are still holding, please let them go to the market, and you'll come to thank me for it after a week or two.
The thing thing is, it's been a week since we received the tanker in Mombasa. Can somebody please check the Kenyan shilling standing against the dollar? Because Brigidi said it'll start going all down starting from tomorrow. Now, we find ourselves in this bad position as a country, and we have seen how bad it can get if the situation is not put under control. It is time to actively mean what we say. Look for money to give counties and stop making inference to cows giving birth as symbolism to what is about to happen in the country. Now, majority of Kenyans know one thing. Nothing has happened yet. One institution that has already removed itself from this revenue crunch conversation is the Kenya Revenue Authority. In fact, in a detailed communique, only problem is we do not know to whom it was intended. KRA says that they are above their collection targets, indicating that in March they surpassed their collection target by 2%, hitting 95%, their target set at 93%. In other words, Mr. President, usitujaribu. This is This Week Tonight.